Hey, we're Teacher Talk, and welcome to our channel.
We are going to be sharing some tips and tricks to help you make it through the school year.
In this video, we're going to talk about the importance of building relationships with your students, their parents, and your colleagues.
With these ideas, you can build meaningful relationships that will last throughout the year and beyond. So one of the things that I like to do is greet the students at the door. It's really important that you are their first face that they see walking in the classroom. It's kind of, I don't know, I feel like it sets off a better vibe than you sitting at your desk working through papers, not saying a word to these children as they're coming in. But that can sometimes be overwhelming to teachers who don't have assistants or who have lots of students in their classroom. So one quick tip for that would be to make a list of your students and break them up by 5 or 6 and for each day. So like on Monday, you'll talk to these 5 children for 1 or 2 minutes each child and really start to build those relationships, getting to know them very well, as opposed to just saying, good morning, how are you? Good morning, how are you? Good morning, how are you? Which isn't really getting into the depths of their lives, you know, and trying to figure out who they are when they're not in your classroom.
Yeah, you want to make your conversations more personal and ask questions about home or how their weekend was, if it was, you know,
Right, or hobbies, or
yeah, just try to get them
Things that you can connect on with
on a
them.
more personal level, yeah, and make those connections.
right. And something that I find that children really get excited about is when they tell you something. Like, I have my first soccer game today, and then the next day when you come back to them, you're like, so how did that soccer game go? They really feel valued and respected. So don't just ask questions and then stop listening. Internalize what they're saying and then revisit those topics that you discuss and make them feel really wanted.
And when you have those relationships built and you make those connections, a lot of the time that kind of minimizes a lot of behavior issues and management in your classroom. They'll want to work for you because they feel like you love them and that you want that connection, and you know they want to work for you to please you. So they will, once you have those connections, it makes it a lot easier to do things in your classroom.
They feel valued and listened to.
Absolutely.
Another way to start building those relationships is having morning meeting. This can be 10 to 15 minutes or longer if you have that time in your day, just to sit down, and it encourages them to talk to each other and talk to you and get to know a little bit more about each other when you ask those questions, and kind of set them up for the day too. You'll have a message, and so they're not surprised or thrown off by what's going on that day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Students thrive and love to know like the schedule and what's happening, and then so that definitely is a positive, a plus.
And if you want to know more about morning meeting, let us know in the comments below, and we will do a video on how to do a morning meeting, because there's definitely a lot of components involved in that, and it'll take a little bit of time to talk over. So let us know in the comments below if that's something that you would be interested in seeing.
Yeah, but I think it really creates that sense of classroom community. First thing in the morning, they feel like they belong, their opinion, or they can share first thing in the morning, and they're being valued still. It's just
that their opinions and their ideas matter.
And it's a safe space, and that no opinion is stupid or wrong.
Yeah.
And just another very important tip in your classroom is to tell your students you love them, that you want them to succeed, even when they're having a rough day and you have to correct them a little bit. Just let them know, that you're doing it because you love them, and you know that they can do better. You know that they can succeed. You know that that's not their best, and this is, you don't expect that from them all the time. But just let them know that you love them and you care every day.
Right, because I'm sure a lot of students hear a lot of yelling at home, on the bus, in the cafeteria. I mean, they hear loud voices all the time. And so your loud voice may go in one ear and out the other, but if you can sit them down and say, I'm talking to you this way because I love you, it's going to make a much better relationship with them, especially when you have to correct their behavior.
And I always tell them I love you, and we're going to work together to get through this and figure it out.
Absolutely.
So they know they're not alone. And as you said earlier, you never know what they're going home to or what they came from home from. So you don't know how they're feeling, internalizing things. So just make sure that you're always setting in that positive, happy environment where they know that they're loved and cared for.
Absolutely.
Because school might be their only safe place that they have, and you know that. You have no idea of knowing that for sure.
Yeah. So building relationships with parents, I think a really major key to that is making sure that you're leading with positive comments and making sure that you're not only contacting them with negative things that happened or just negativity in general. You want to know, like, these are what your child can do. This is what they're doing great. Or if they are a kid that tends to have, you know, a lot of behavior issues, make sure that you're sending home positive, like, when they have a good day, so the parents know that this is not an everyday thing.
Absolutely.
Actually, I have a positive comments, like, little checklist that I can check off and sign, and then they take it home and their parents see it and sign off so that they know, so that I know that they saw it too. And that's just a good way to say, like, wow, your kid had a good day. They helped me sort things, or maybe they helped a friend, or whatever it is, just to let them know, like, no one wants to hear that they have the bad kid,
Right.
you know? So I think
To let them
positive
know that
comments are huge.
Yeah, that they're trying, or they made a good choice here. They
Right.
were really, you know, maybe not in this moment, but this moment they made a good choice. And
Right. And you can find a bunch of different things on Pinterest and Teachers Pay Teachers. You can download, or honestly, if you're low tech, like some teachers are, you know, I sometimes can't always get to the printer. I'll just make sure I have some of those really cool, like, notebook paper that you can get from Dollar Tree, or the little die cut pieces, and I'll just jot a quick handwritten note on that and say, hey, this is my love note to you. Show mom and dad how awesome you are today. And it doesn't have to be like super high tech or fancy, because anything that says you were great today is going to feel so good to those kids.
Yes.
And their parents,
And
knowing
you're gonna
that
want to show them it.
absolutely.
So.
And your parents are going to know, hey, this teacher really cares, which is really important.
And just another thing is communicating with parents. Just be available. Some parents use email. You can use phone calls. Some like to call and talk to you personally. Others will send notes. We have used an app called Remind, where you can communicate. It's kind of like text messaging, but an app that goes through an app, so you don't know your phone number. So just using tools like that, all different ways, and just letting them know that you're there for them, and whenever they need anything or have questions. It definitely helps build those relationships with parents, that they know they can come to you and ask you questions and concerns about their child, or share whatever they want to, like happy things too. They can share good things about your kid with them as well.
Yeah, and a good thing about Remind, or even if you're sending an email, is if you can translate for them, especially if they don't speak English, that's gonna just show them that you really care about communicating with them about their kid, and that you value them as a parent, and you're making that effort to communicate with them. So for example, our Remind app, you can type something and it will translate it to the language for them. And then that also makes you seem more available, and they're more likely to come out to parent-teacher conferences and reach out to you
Absolutely.
because you're building that relationship with them.
Yep. And the last thing with parents, just keep in mind that they are sending you their very best. That no parent gets up in the morning and says, you know what, I'm going to make sure that the kid that I send to school is misbehaving and disrespectful and ha ha ha, that teacher doesn't know what she's in for. They're not doing that. They are sending the very best they can. That might mean maybe their kid, you know, is wearing dirty clothes. Maybe their kid hasn't had breakfast. Maybe their kid isn't doing their homework, and it's not because the parents aren't wanting to. It's just they're doing the best that they can, and that's really hard to keep in mind.
Yeah.
That's
That's really important.
because
too.
we know how important that parent engagement is for children to succeed, but you also have to keep in mind and give those parents some grace, and just know that you are given what their best.
Yeah, they're sending you their best, and they're doing their best. that they
Absolutely.
can.
And sometimes what helps me keep that into perspective is to put yourself in their shoes a little bit, like to think about how they feel. That's their child. That's what, if that was my child, what would you like? What would I want somebody to handle? How to talk to them? How would I want them to treat them in the school?
Right.
So just kind of remember that that's their child, and like you said, it's their best, and they just want the best for them.
Absolutely. So our last topic today is building relationships with colleagues, those adults that you see day in and day out walking past your door, sometimes coming in your room. Are they the people that you see every day or once a week? But how to build those relationships so that it's a student-centered relationship.
Well, one of those ways we do that as a team
Yeah.
in our school, on our team, when we have lunch, we try not to talk about school. Sometimes that comes up a little bit here and there, but we try to like put our school and issues away from, and just talk about other things and just let it go for that 30 minutes we have with each other, and just kind of, and that helps us bond as a team.
Yeah, and making sure that we're eating together. And, you know, depending on what type of school climate you have, you can eat in the faculty lounge, or if that's a negative place, try and eat in someone's classroom or something that's a more positive space, that's having that positive talk, so you feel good about being at work and being at lunch with your team.
Absolutely, and having those non-classroom related conversations also helps you to get to know your teammates, and I think that's really the key point in developing those lasting relationships with your colleagues. Is it's not just a professional relationship. It can be, hey, let's go out for drinks after work, or let's get together on the weekend and go and play board games, whatever, just to build those personal connections, as opposed to, you are a teacher, I am a teacher, that is all we can discuss.
Having that personal relationship built stronger helps as a team make our team at school stronger when we to work together to help our students. So
Because
that
at the end of the day, like, they're the only ones that really know how your classroom is going or how your day is going, because they're going through it too. So they're that huge support system for you.
Absolutely.
So building that relationship makes that much easier, that if you're having a rough day or something, you feel comfortable going to them or asking for advice. So
And sometimes that's not possible. There are some people that you're going to work with who are going to constantly be negative, or just not be the vibe that you need to gel with. So it's really important not to isolate yourself within your team or your classroom. If you have teammates who you're not connecting with, despite all the effort, look somewhere else in the school. I bet you there is somebody else in that building who you can connect with a lot easier. I know that when I first started teaching, my team and I just didn't get along. I was new to the team. I was a new teacher. I felt very isolated from them. I was on a completely different hallway than they were. So I started to seek out other teams, and I made a really great relationship with a completely different grade level. And we're still friends to this day. We make an effort to talk to each other, and I found my team, which is really nice, but I still value that part. And had I isolated myself in my room and not talked to my team, it would have been miserable. And I don't know if I would have lasted.
yeah.
So having that great support system of colleagues is really important.
and as a new teacher, it can be hard to reach out to people because you're trying to figure out your own things, and it can be very difficult. You don't know, it's overwhelming. But even just one person at a time, you see somebody, just try to start a conversation or talk to them and relate a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you don't just have a classroom community with your kids, but you feel like your school is a community for you as well, because that's where you're spending most of your day too. So might as well be comfortable there and find those people that you can connect with too.
Yep.
If you enjoyed this video, hit that like and subscribe button.
Comment below with how you build relationships in your school.
Remember to be sincere and authentic, and do what works best for you. You know, whatever sprinkles your donut.